Good afternoon. My name is Maya Cox, and I am a Life Course Ambassador, a CESP, and a consultant at Public Consulting Group. And I am so pleased to be here with you today to talk about what work has to do with it and talking about employment, adulthood, and how we can use Life Course to plan ahead. So let's get started. What's work got to do with it? So each of us have things that we want and what we don't want in our life. And I know I don't have to tell you that Life Course can help us have high expectations and figure out how we get to our good life. And I like to think about and ask people about what are the things that you want for your good life? And what are the things that you want for other members in your family? A lot of times when people talk about what they want in their life, they think about close relationships. They think about things that you can enjoy in the world, that you need money for sometimes. And they talk about having ownership, contributing, helping others, and those kinds of things. And a lot of times work plays a key component in the way an adult experiences a lot of those things that people want in their good life. So in Indiana, the Division of Disability and Rehabilitative Services, Bureau of Developmental Disabilities, or BDDS, adopted Life Course in 2016, and they've been using this framework for many years now and very successfully. And they have started collaborating with vocational rehabilitation and the Department of Education to start building additional capacity, and especially around employment. And so PCG, or Public Consulting Group, who I worked with, was contracted to develop and deliver training and resources to support transition-age youth, their families, and school personnel to understand how Life Course can help plan for adulthood in the future. So I mentioned that all of these players are coordinating and supporting service delivery. And one opportunity and thought process behind this is that there's a service called Pre-Employment Transition Services, or PREETS, that is federally required in every state across the country. And it says that VR has to pay for services for students with disabilities who are eligible or potentially eligible for VR services. So what does that mean? It means that students who are in a school or vocational training from 14 through 21 who have some sort of disability that might qualify them for VR services are eligible for all of these additional services to help them get ready for work and learn more about what are all the opportunities. And it's also an important population because these are the folks getting ready to enter the adult world, right? And everybody's throwing everything we can in to make sure that they are as most prepared as possible. And so thinking about this service and thinking about youth, this was a great opportunity to expand the work that was already happening and expand the use of Life Course as far as a planning tool, because these students and young adults were either already getting waiver services or are going to get waiver services as adults. And we want them to consider this framework across the board because it makes it easier for everybody, right? If you're interested about learning more about PREETS, there's a link here. It's a federal website, WINTAC, and they can tell you all kinds of things about PREETS services if you're interested. And so what we did is we came up with a plan. We wanted to train school staff, students, and families about Life Course and how you can use Life Course to plan for the future, and in particular, thinking about employment. And this changed with COVID. We had planned for 10 workshops across the state where we were all going to get together, students, families, and school personnel, and we were going to talk about how we can use the Life Course framework, introduce it, talk about different tools and ways to think about things, and talk about employment as well. And we also had a lot of different examples, resources, really concrete tools and ways to use it. And we were going to have everybody using the same tools, using the same language, so that we can all work together and plan together. I know I don't have to tell you guys that a lot of times when there's a person with a disability, they have different service systems, and every service system has different language. It can be so confusing. But if we just use the same language and we use Life Course, then we're all using the same tools and opportunities. So anyway, we had to transition from 10 workshops face-to-face to online because of COVID-19. And so we pivoted and changed our approach so that it was mostly web-based training, webinars in particular for school staff, and then webinars for students and families. And then in addition, we developed a number of resources, and I'm happy to show some of you guys the resources now, that were both online as well as paper, because we know that in Indiana, about 15% of students who fall into this population who would be between 14 and 21 who have a disability may not have access to the computer or internet. So we had both online resources and then paper-based resources to make sure that everyone had access to those resources. So let's walk through some samples and examples. So there are a lot of words on this screen, and I just want to share that one of the things that we did to help coordinate services across the Department of Education and then pre-ed services and thinking about life course is we crosswalked the life course domains, and here's an example, the daily life and employment domain across the 5 required pre-ed services so that providers, students, and families could see the connection between the services that they were delivering and life course domains. And they could think more thoroughly about all of the areas in a person's life they might need to plan for. And it's just, I think, again, a great example of Department of Education, Voc Rehab, and BDDS working together to coordinate and use resources wisely so that we can maximize resources and plan holistically for the future. One of the tools that we commonly use in the life course framework is the trajectory. And here is a trajectory that happens to be for my sister around planning for life as an adult and employment, and how employment is an integral part of her life. And I won't go into the details, but you can see how many of these elements parallel. Another tool that we developed was the Integrated Support Star, and one of the challenges that my sister and family faced was around transportation. And so you'll see that we completed the Integrated Support Star with many different options related to transportation to identify a solution. Another resource that I wanted to share with you today was the workbook that we created for Indiana, and it's called Working Toward the Good Life, Let's Plan for the Future. And again, this is both a workbook that's a fillable PDF online and then a paper-based workbook for those who don't have access to the internet or computers. And I just wanted to give a couple screenshots. We tried to incorporate a lot of visual supports and make it really usable. On the bottom left-hand side of the screen is a little hyperlink where you can click to access the workbook online. So now that we've learned a little bit about how Indiana extended their life course into pre-ed services and to transition age youth, let's talk about what are the ways that you can use life course to unsilo services or conversations in your home, community, or state. And I'd love to see your answers in Flipgrid below. So here are just some questions. Are there ways you can incorporate life course into planning for yourself and your family? Is there planning or processes for others that you support where you could extend life course practices? On a larger scale, what systems do you work with that could benefit from life course? And consider a vision for your future and for your priorities, whether it's a person, state, or system. How is life course part of the solution? And then for the Flipgrid below, what is the next logical step you can take to expand the way that you use life course? So thanks so much for joining today and learning a little bit about how the life course framework was extended in Indiana. We really hope that you learned from this and you've thought of some opportunities and ways to expand in your practice as well. If you have any questions, if you'd like to have a conversation, please reach out. Here is my email address. Thanks again for joining, and I hope you have a great day.